So, what do y'all guys want to talk about? You're watching the High Spot podcast on the Give a Shot Network. I am Jeff Morin alongside my tag team partner, the Trendsetter, Bryan Berga. Catch us here on Give Us a Shot, like and subscribe. You know what to do. Hit that notification bell and make sure you don't miss a single episode of HSP. Also, check out all our social media platforms at High Spot Podcast. We're also available on audio platforms. That's right. You can go to Spotify. You can go to iHeart. You can go to Apple Podcasts. If you can't watch the show, make sure you listen to HSP Trendsetter. We are in all-in mode, Wembley Stadium this weekend. Man, we are already near the end of the summer because that's it, man. We got this, then Labor Day, and that's it, buddy. We can put a wrap on another summer here with HSP. But again, we want to thank the crew for joining us. Trendsetter, what's going on, man? How you doing?
Doing all right, man. Like you said, nothing to look forward to right now except after this Labor Day weekend. We call this a labor of love so many times, but we enjoy doing it. And, you know, similar to professional wrestling, as we talk about other things as well, but particularly this, there is no off season for us and there never will be. But again, I wouldn't have it any other way.
Yeah, so I'm a little 1 year older and a little bit more wiser. So hopefully I bring it here today as we preview All In. Lots to talk about as well, but we'll get to that in just a few. But again, All In is what we're going to discuss. And let's talk about a little bit before we get into the festivities this weekend. And that's just AEW Dynamite and all the shows in general. Still not pulling at least 700K. Now the span or the time frame for WB and AEW to have that exclusive deal is kind of done with, and now they can go shop AEW to any other station or any other network, but it seems like it's going to be WB or not. Are you surprised right now that there's still no deal announced yet between AEW and Warner Brothers? Do you see it anytime soon? You had Tony Khan show up on different interviews with the HBO Max hat. Then he had the Warner Brothers hat. I mean, it looks like they're going to stay there, but is it going to be anywhere near the amount that Tony Khan thinks that they're going to get?
A lot there to unpack. I think initially, I don't think it's going to be happening anytime soon. But with saying that too, time is running out. Eventually, you're going to have to make a decision, or a decision is going to have to be made for you. And what I mean by that is that, listen, this isn't, again, me trying to bash Tony Khan or AEW, but when you see Tony Khan go do these interviews and talk about various things, especially the future of, you know, Dynamite, AEW, what it's doing in terms of how it's distributing itself to the masses, to the public, sometimes I wish he would just stop talking, because sometimes I feel he pits himself in situations that are not very don't put him in and paint him in a good picture right now. And I think really what's really delaying this deal from happening, because I've heard reports too that multiple offers have been presented, and it's up to AEW's decision whether they want to do it or not. Now, whether Tony Khan and AEW officials feel that they're worth more than what they're being offered, or they can, you know, get a better offer somewhere else, I don't know where that better offer is going to present itself. So for me, I think Tony is his own worst enemy, because I think he's built it up to the scenario. And guys, this is similar to, I'll put in layman's terms, when you build a house and you modify it and you think just by doing that, your value has increased exponentially for that. Not necessarily the case. I think sometimes Tony's overvalued himself and overvalued the product. When you look at the numbers and the ratings, and you know what people say, you know, numbers don't lie. Of course, they can be manipulated, but they don't lie. You know, for what's going on right now, you just want an opportunity to continually present your product to a public that can watch it. And right now, I think Tony's his own worst enemy in that fact. Will it happen? I think so, but they are running out of time. But I don't think they're going to get the deal that they want. They're holding out for it. But I think when push comes to shove and it's the final minutes there to make a decision, yes or no, I don't think the leverage is going to be in their favor, and they're going to sign a deal that wasn't worth what they wanted.
I always find it hard to believe how, like, you can always see a different version of a fact, because we see the ratings as they are. We see 698, 687, and so on. And it's been a rough year so far, because let's just agree, and it's a fact, WWE is just so hot right now. their product is just on fire. And meanwhile, AEW, that momentum that they had as being that underdog, that engine that was just getting uphill through the wrestling product with their fans, now seem to kind of stall. So for the viewership that you see AEW side where they come up and TBS and Warner Brothers will say this was the highest rated show for cable that night. And they're going to say the demographic was up 2% because it was low. So it's amazing how you can see facts in a certain way to appeal to your, to your narrative. And so I really don't know where that other competition or where that other offer is going to come from. But you would hope so for the business that they do get a deal done, whether it's HBO Max, whether they stream, because listen, WWE is going to stream in January, and eventually SmackDown's moving to USA in a few weeks, and then you're going to have
NXT is moving to CW.
He's exactly moving to CW, so you're starting to see the movement. It's going to be a crazy year as we head into the end of 2024 into 2025. So wrestling is just picking up, and yeah, will there be a deal done? Most likely, but I think, like you mentioned, that great example with the house and overvaluing your house just because you added a jacuzzi or added an extra amenity to it. It's just not going to increase the value that much the way you think. It's always the beauty is in the eye of the beholder. And right now, Warner Brother holds the cards. And I just think, why would you compete against yourself? I mean, as much as the relationship is good between, or Tony Khan makes it seem to be, I just don't see why Warner Brothers would go out of their way to increase their offer or maybe double the offer to AEW. And right now, AEW does not have any leverage. Just kind of weird. And with Warner Brothers and TNT losing the NBA, it is imperative that they get some kind of programming there. So we'll see what happens. Will there be a deal done? Yes. Will it be till the final hour? Perhaps. But you kind of hope for pro wrestling's sake and for, I love saying it's for the boys, that a deal does get done and it will get done. But again, continue the go-home show for AEW, again, 698. And this is their WrestleMania. This is what they're building it up to. All In is their WrestleMania. And we'll see what happens. Some of these matches here we're looking forward to because there's been stories told, Trendsetter. Actually, stories, builds. Like, for example, Maria May and Toni Storm. That one has had a build. It's built itself to where we want to see the end result. Mercedes Moné and Britt Baker, that's told a story. And then Swerve and Bryan Danielson, and then also to MJF and Will Ospreay. So there's stories there. So all the people griping about how we need stories, AEW has given you stories here with all these matches. So are you looking forward to this Sunday at Wembley Stadium for this? Do you think that the build has been good for this card?
Yes and no. I think, am I looking forward to it? Yes, 100%. Looking forward to see the matches that you just mentioned, to see what the outcome's going to be on those and where they're going to lead to eventually too. That's also part of the fun. You look for a potential ending for something to see what it leads to going forward. And I guess that's probably the mentality in pro wrestling too. What's the next thing? What's next on the horizon? But you're waiting for the conclusion of this. In terms of, do I think it's going to be an amazing card? Listen, for events that we've gone to, we've had the privilege of attending, Jeff. There's no doubt in my mind, I can never, nobody can ever convince me otherwise, that the effort isn't put into it. When it's from the in-ring product from bell to bell, the effort's there. Now, whether it's a success or not from bell to bell, that's for one's debate, one to judge or give stars, whatever they want to do. For me, the most important thing about it is that you want to make sure you're projecting something that people are interested in. And again, they're all not going to be home runs. There are going to be scenarios where you're going to have, like I said, we mentioned several ones that we're looking forward to. This one here, I think the biggest gripe right now going on with AEW, and again, I'll compare this. This is their WrestleMania, right? For the most part, there have been a lot of matches at WrestleMania that you could say, hey, we're kind of put together last minute, but at least there was something there to sink your teeth into if you're interested in that. Sometimes when we look at this card, and we'll discuss it we'll discuss it in a little bit right now, is that sometimes I just feel like people are being put in places where, hey, listen, we just want to add more matches to the card, and that's the gripe sometimes I think people get with AEW, that yes, there is story there, there's just not enough consistency of that. So
Well, I kind of beg to differ because on this one, I think you do have a majority. Like you said, there are some that are a little put together and in haste, but I think the majority here have a story to be told. And I don't think there's like 14, 15 matches. I think this is like, 9 matches. So I think they're going to get their time or something like that. So I think that in this case, in this scenario,
Oh, we got 11.
11. Okay, so some of them are going to be in 0 hour. I know the Statlander mixed tag match is going to be there. So maybe what, 2 or 3? So you're going to get like maybe 8. So we'll go down the card and discuss it here. But I do get your point that some of these are kind of like, all of them they're all going to get their time and some of them aren't. That's just basically how it is too. But I think that the key ones here, there's a good chunk of them that you're looking forward to, and they're going to tell a story and they'll culminate. And we're going to get to this card really soon. But as we came on, news broke that it looks like Ricochet is all elite now. It seems that it is official that he signed a multi-year deal as per Fightful. So let's give him credit for that. So this was kind of inevitable. We kind of saw the writing on the wall that Ricochet was going to leave WWE and basically, went out, got written off, being attacked by Braun Breaker. And now it seems now that from what we're saying is you're going to debut him at All in Wembley, perhaps maybe in the Casino Battle Royale or something like that, or the Gauntlet match. I don't know if I would do it there, but the winner gets an automatic World Heavyweight Championship match. So if you're going to put Ricochet in the big spot, that would be the one to do so. That would be the match. So obviously it was inevitable that he signs. Is Ricochet going to be that air quotes game changer that every AEW fan brings up when a ex-WWE person signs with the company? Is he going to be that game changer? Because everyone's looking forward to eventually Ospreay and Ricochet. But let's be honest, after that, what's next? So game changer, Trendsetter, yes or no?
No. It will be something that's interesting, yes. And the reason why I say that is that, again, I'm not trying to take anything away from Ricochet. But in terms of what he produced in WWE, and a lot of it can be argued whether it was just mismanagement of his character, he wasn't put in correct directions, old regime and new regime just couldn't figure out what to do with him. Ultimately, I think it'll be an impact initially because people like to see Ricochet, an ex-WWE guy, on AEW television. The potential's out there. It's written on the wall right there. They want to see Will Ospreay and Ricochet again. But to your point, too, once you do that and you build up that story, where do you go from there? So that's really the only thing that I can think of right now that would be interesting. Of course, there's talent on the roster that he can work with. But the biggest challenge that's really faced EW from this point, when they've ever brought somebody new in, whether they've signed somebody from a another promotion, in this case WWE, there's always initial buzz there. But then, all right, what do you do with it? What direction are we going into? You just mentioned the possibility of how you're going to present him at All In if that's where he does make his debut. Okay, where can we position it where now we can pit Ricochet as a star in this company or one of the individuals that can see themselves in that main event picture? We'll find out. But as a game changer, I don't think so. Time will tell on that one. Does he have the potential to do it? Yeah, of course he does. Because in terms of what he's done in the indie scene prior to joining WWE and the excitement it was when he did sign with WWE of what could have been, which didn't live up to what people thought was going to happen, is still there. But ultimately, we'll find out where AEW's creative direction goes on that end. But game changer, no. But look, very excited to see Ricochet part of AEW now.
You're going to see a lot of movement in AEW and WWE as the months go by because, again, you're going to be things going back and forth. There's a rumor that Ricky Starks was a free agent per Solid Monster, that he could be going to WWE as soon as next week for No Mercy, or he would be in the fold maybe by the October show when they go over to CW. So that's an interesting news tidbit that broke too, that Ricky Starks is a free agent and that he was free actually as of July. I mean, how do you let a guy like that go if you're AEW? How do you not find something for this guy? Because it seems like the significant guy, it seems like Toni falls in love with the free agents. It seems like that happens to every company. It kind of was part of the demise for WCW as well. And it kind of seems like something that Toni said in the beginning, you can't sign everybody, but it seems like he's doing that to a lot of money. And then all of a sudden, he kind of forgets kind of the pillars or the homegrown people, and they tend to just slip away. A la Jade Cargill, a la Ethan Page, Lexus King, Brian Pillman Jr. those people tend to seep down. Look at Wardlow, dude. I mean, he has been MIA. I don't think that's the right way to go about it. Because for every edge that you sign, I mean, Adam Copeland that you sign, a guy like Ricky Starks slips by the cracks. Really quick, your reaction if Ricky Starks is WWE bound?
I'd be happy for Ricky Starks. I thought a fresh start there. We've seen what a fresh start has done for Lexus King, what's done for Ethan Page, who's now the NXT champion, and for him, a new place to call home would be a fresh start for Ricky Starks. Had a lot of potential. Went through that scariness where he broke his neck facing when he faced Adam Hangman Page, and they looked like they were positioning him. I think he, correct me if I'm wrong, Jeff. He's the first one to win the Owen Hart Memorial Battle Royal or Battle Cup, right?
Well,
Yeah, he's the first one that won that, and you think, all right, that's gonna have him on the trajectory of becoming a star. I mean, they spent enough pyro on him to give him that illusion that he was going to be a star, and nothing transpired from it. So again, this is a scenario too where, to your point too, I think Tony is really attracted to the free agents as per se Mercedes, Mercedes Moné, Okada signing those to lucrative deals. But then what are we doing with them? We're not really using them to their fullest potential. But then when you bring these individuals from other companies, whether it be New Japan or WWE, you now put aside people who are, as they say, homegrown, and you want to see these individuals develop into stars. The biggest thing that always troubles me when you have scenarios like this happen, whether it goes on with WWE, you mentioned WCW in the past, in this case AEW, is that it's fine when you sign those free agents if they help benefit your company to grow further. And that doesn't necessarily mean you purchase somebody or get somebody from another promotion just to put your guys over, but you need assistance from people who are more well known, have more experience, have a bigger name to help elevate your younger stars to get to that level that you want them to be. Like I said, you have no problem having a Chris Jericho hold on to the title in the initial stages of AEW's birth to help carry it so that he could pass the title on to other individuals that could project themselves to be stars and bigger stars than their predecessors. And I think right now what we're seeing is that Ricochet is the example coming in. Great addition, but what are you going to do? Ricky Starks could be a great addition to NXT, could be a great addition to the W roster, but that's where you see the difference in creative minds of where we want to direct this person, where we want to project him in terms of where he is going to help the company make more money. And I think Ricky Starks in NXT, for example, would be a great fresh start for him. At the same time, would allow him the opportunity to see things from a different side. Perfect example when Ethan Page did an interview saying that, he came, and again, this isn't bashing AW, but came from a world that was very chaotic in terms of, I guess, the organization there to a machine that's, I guess, a little bit more well organized because it's been there longer. So you see two different types of dynamic there, and I think it'll do good for Ricky Starks to be part of the WWE roster.
A year from now, who's the bigger star, Ricochet or Ricky Starks?
Ooh, that's a tough one there. I would have to lean towards Ricky Starks right now. We said in the beginning of the show, WWE just has all this momentum going. And right now, people want to go to where all the momentum is. I think in the long run, will he be a future champion? Will he be the biggest star in WWE? I don't know. But in terms of the potential to be utilized, I guess a little bit better, I would lean more towards the WWE at this point.
And also the factor of Shawn Michaels there. And being able to say, hey, at first, I don't want to go NXT. But when you know that Shawn Michaels is there, a very creative guy, and obviously an extension of Triple H. So obviously it might not be so bad to go under the NXT wing, especially when their roster's kind of depleted in the male side after the draft. They kind of have some holes to fill, and that'd be a nice little person to put in there in Ricky Starks. So I kind of think that Ricky Starks will be the bigger star. By maybe same time next year, I think Ricky Starks will be the guy. And also, you got to go age. Look at what they're getting. So you give up a 35-year-old guy in Ricochet, and you basically are getting a guy who's 27, 28 years old into the fold. And this guy has got his prime ahead of him. And with creative and what Triple H wants to do, sky's the limit for Ricky Starks, right?
Question for you, Jeff. Yes, of course, sky's the limit there. But when you get a guy like Ricochet, right? If we know Tony to a certain extent, there's not going to be a sense of repackaging. They're going to want to have Ricochet be Ricochet. Yeah. If you turn it the other way now, have Ricky Starks go over to NXT in the WWE machine, are you repackaging Ricky Starks? Or are you kind of carrying over what he did in AEW?
Ricky Starks can be a face, a huge face. And I think that you don't need to touch him. You just need he needs more exposure. I just think he needs to be there and just be consistent. I mean, he would go from being used not to being used, and he goes on hiatus, and then. But the thing is, here, I think some people that are already like veterans, like an Adam Copeland and Mercedes Moné, going to AEW where they've already been under that structure. Hey, it works for them. But when you're coming off the indies and you're going to a place like AEW and you haven't had that structure, say what they say about WB and them being like, pains in the asses and it's a corporate thing. You kind of want to come from that corporate thing so that you can eventually venture off when you're a vet and you know how the system works, then you can go to AEW. But I think once Ricky Starks knows, so he's going to do the same thing. He's going to come over here and he's be like, whoa, this is like night and day. Like Chris Jericho said before, the Wizard of Oz, right? Everything was in black and white, and then you come and it's color. I always love that. I never forget that comparison, right? So I think that's what happens. I think once you're in anything and you're never used to that corporate structure, you need it sometimes, and I think Ricky's going to thrive under it. And I think that guy like Ricochet is going to come into AEW and he's going to be better. But the thing is, though, like besides looking forward to that Ricochet and Ospreay match, like what else is there? Is he really going to get a chance to compete for the heavyweight championship? Because that's what it's all about. Because you couldn't get a mid-card shot here because the mid-carders were really deep in WWE. Can he now, I mean, is an international title going to do him? Is he going to be, I left for this money and the international championship, is that going to be worth his while? Right? No, I would hope not. I would hope he wants to be a world champion. Can he get that shot? I don't know. I really don't know. I think the bright side, the more upside is towards Ricky Starks. All right, Trendsetter. Lots of news. So now let's get really here to the nitty gritty here. The card AEW All In. It is this Sunday from Wembley Stadium in London, England. I'm pretty sure WrestleMania is going to be there pretty soon, and we're going to have to come to the grips that we might have to make a trip overseas and go to merry old England there, chip cheerio there, and all that thing there, Trendsetter. So London, England, we better get used to Wembley because, hey, that might be newsworthy pretty soon for WWE. But all right, so All In, we've got the 0 Hour, of course. That's right prior to All In, and we got Chris Statlander and Stokely Hathaway against Willow Nightingale and Tomohiro Ishii. Now, a lot of stuff towards Ishii the last couple of weeks. If he's not your cup of tea, so what? I mean, it is what it is. Listen, the fact that I'm taller than this dude says something. And so, like, I like, hey, congratulations if you've gotten your reputation like that in New Japan, right? Because it's kind of when you see him, you're like, oh, okay, he's like me. Like I can relate to this dude. But anyways, this matchup, the Mist Tag Team matchup here, and listen, I don't know. I'm gonna go with Willow and Ishii just because I think Stokely is going to be a hindrance for Chris Statlander here. So I'm gonna give the win to Willow and Ishii.
Actually, I'm going the opposite route. I'm going Statlander and Stokely are going to become victorious in this one just because I got to pick something different. I can't keep agreeing with you. No, but in the reality too, it's like, listen, man, if you're comfortable saying that here, that looking at Ishii just because you're taller than him, okay, but I don't think you'd ever want to get a slap from him or a chop on the chest from him too. This guy is a tough guy, but like I said, when you look at the comparisons to two of where he is in his career, and let's be honest with you, Jeff. I mean, this is 0 Hour for a reason. I'm not saying it's a throwaway match, but the whole scenario was for Willow Nightingale and Chris Statlander to have their moment. And I just really feel, again, it goes right from the beginning of this company when it started. This women's division has just been one word, frustrating. It's been so frustrating because you have talent there. It's available to you. Are they stars? No. Can they be stars? Of course they can be, but it just seems like things are just pitted together in a scenario where there's a storyline between Chris Statlander and Willow Nightingale basically went nowhere, and this is what we're getting on 0 Hour.
It's like you should have booked this to get a one-on-one and really build it because there was a great story there, but you kind of went backwards and you maybe to get back to that spot you're going through here, and it just makes no sense. This to me is like, okay, this is more to like, all right, let's get the fans into a match here so that they can, start, sitting down and watching some. I mean, honestly, like this is to me like not something that I'm like really do I have to watch it? No, that's why it's probably most likely in the 0 Hour. And have zero interest in. If you're just being quite honest, I love Willow and I love Chris, but I mean, I love to see them go 1-on-1, right?
Yeah.
For the trios championship, we got the patriarchy. I kind of like that story that they're dissing. They're kind of dissing my boy here. And like Christian Cage is the ultimate heel, and Nick Wayne, and then Mama Wayne now, who's now taking the championship, and she's part. It's just, to me, it's great dynamic for Christian Cage. You got the Bang Bang Gang, and
I love how you say Bang Bang Gang with absolutely no interest in it whatsoever.
Hey man, I miss Jay White though.
You're about maybe the only one of us that miss Jay White right now, really.
And House of Black. How about the House of Black, dude? There's a lot of negativity towards the House of Black. Yet, they re-signed though. Aleister Black or Alice. It's Aleister Black, right? It's crazy. Like I just Buddy Matthews. I thought that
we're into WWE right now. We really are.
I thought that one of them would have gone back to WWE, right? But they re-signed, and then a lot of people saying that they're kind of like not cool to deal with. That they've nixed a lot of ideas, and I don't know how. I mean, I guess they have some control and creative and stuff like that, but that's not a good sign if they have that kind of reputation. And you have Christian Cage here. Why not think that the patriarchy walks away still the champions?
I think so too. I think Patriarchy is going to walk away still the trios champion. As for the House of Black right now, this isn't a scenario where it had a lot of potential. It had a lot of scenarios where it was just something different than what you were normally watching there. And in terms of them resigning again, when I first heard the news, I was pretty surprised about that too. Not that just because their contract's up, they're immediately going to go and sign with WWE, but maybe venture to TNA, try something else different. But again, it's a scenario too that I see really similar with AEW, Jeff. It's the schedule's good, pay as well, and if you're comfortable in a certain spot, you are. But in terms of the rumors of how they are backstage and how they are to deal with right now, why do you resign them then? Why do you bring them back? And again, you have Brody Lee, you have Buddy Matthews, Buddy Murphy, Aleister Black. You have talent there, and it really seems from the outside looking in, of course, and you can only tell so much by what you watch on TV. You don't know whether it's something that they're not breaking the fourth wall, they're really showcasing their emotion, they're just being in character. But there seems to be a lot of frustration there, and it's you see it, and I just don't know why that happens. But again, what I've said before too, when certain talent signs with companies, and all of a sudden they're unhappy, well, nobody forced you to sign.
All right, so this is why I'm horrible. I have a horrible poker face, and I'm a horrible dancer because I try to tap dance something. Did you know what I was trying to hide? The fact that I didn't know that Luchasaurus was his name, and his name was Killswitch.
Killswitch.
I was trying to dance around it, and I was waiting for you to call me out because I know you're smiling, and I knew that you're thinking, oh, he doesn't know Luchasaurus' name. I don't remember Luchasaurus' name, but it's Killswitch.
I mean, we can call him Luchasaurus if we want to, but the thing is, he's part of the group where he's interchangeable.
He's going to turn face, though. He's eventually going to be tired of this act that he's not being appreciated. So it could happen, though. It could happen here, where he finally has enough. He's going to turn face, Killswitch, because obviously to give the championship to Mama Wayne obviously is an insult to Killswitch, and he's had to deal with a lot of crap now from Christian Cage, not appreciate whatsoever. It could happen there, but it's eventually going to happen. I don't think it happens though at All In though. But you got to make sure you
slow build.
Got it exactly. Everyone's waiting for that Killswitch face turn, baby. I'm looking forward to it, but it's not going to happen though at All In. Unfortunately, I don't think so. We're going to go to the page.
When it does happen, it becomes Luchasaurus again. Merch is going to fly off the hook right there, man.
Hi guys. Hey guys. Hi. How about Chris Jericho, the Learning Tree against Hook for the FTW Championship? If Hook can't beat Chris Jericho, then he can never challenge for the FTW Championship ever again. I got a question for you. Don't you think that challenging for a title is getting too old now?
I think so too. I feel like, that in contract signings, we definitely know where that's always going. You watch Dynamite or WWE TV. Whenever there's a contract signing, you're just asking for trouble. So why do we do it? I mean, if you're not going to promote very well the match and have a good promo between two individuals, then what's the point of it?
But yeah, I think there's a lot of stipulations now where you can't challenge for that championship. I think it's kind of overdone now, especially for this championship. I mean, really, you'd be doing me a favor if I don't get the challenge for this championship anymore. Hook, dude, do you think he's going to be better after this? Because he's going up against a veteran like Chris Jericho. To me, this has been the maybe worst version of Chris Jericho, and that's saying a lot because we really like this guy. This is one of our idols, so we admire Chris Jericho. But this, to me, has been maybe perhaps it's what he wants to do. People talking negatively because any kind of talk is publicity. Any kind of talk like that is talk. And we are talking about the learning tree and how bad it is, in my opinion. But maybe that's what he wants. Maybe he's smarter than all of us here and knows what he's doing here. And just having this presentation is so bad, but it's being talked about. Do you think Hook's going to be better? But I think Hook's going to win.
I don't. I have Chris Jericho winning this one, and then I'll give you the reason why though.
Okay,
because
say if he wins,
yeah,
Hook become better off of this feud.
Internally, I don't think so because I don't think this feud has really wanted me as an audience or as a fan to want to see Hook win or get vengeance over Chris Jericho. I think even despite the fact that I'm not the biggest fan of what Chris is doing right now in terms of his work, hey, listen, the guy's smarter than I am. He's had so many years of experience in the business. He's always been about reinventing himself, whether it's a home run or a strikeout. In this case, to me, it's a strikeout. But as people talking, I think this is really a ploy of really just obviously getting Hook to get more compassion for him, having him kind of go past it. Because let's be honest, and this is no offense to the FTW title, right? But in all honesty, it's a title that's not recognized by AEW, and really a title that just really, in my opinion, holds Hook back. Yes, the legacy of it, how his father created the title in ECW. We do know the story of the FTW title, but it serves no purpose here. If you really want Hook to be a star, you're having him go for the TNT title. You're having him now go for other avenues in mid card, going up to the main roster. I mean, and here's another guy that had so much momentum going for him. It just seemed to have stuttered out of control for no apparent reason. He was a guy who didn't talk. He was kind of, for a guy his size, a Brock Lesnar or this monster type of guy that you couldn't defeat, you couldn't beat. Now they're trying to have people be sympathetic towards him, root for him, cheer for him. They did it for anyway, but now it's a scenario where I think, does he get better for it? I think he gets better once this rivalry is done.
Do you actually use Brock Lesnar and Hook in the same sentence?
Well, yeah, I mean, because when you look in the world of AEW, he is the equivalent of what a Brock Lesnar is. He's this monster. He's this Goldberg figure where he goes, he's just a machine. I mean, we've seen it before where he's no-sold people, put moves on him. He just gets right back up. Of course, believable or not, right? But that's the approach they're taking on a character like Hook. And hey, it worked in the beginning because people were going crazy. When that theme song hit, he was coming down, no nonsense, no facial expressions. It was working. And in terms of where he started to where he progressed, he had gained that momentum, being part of that Taz's mini trio group there, a little faction. But ultimately, I think right now this is just a scenario where they'll move their separate ways. Of course, there'll be compassion and empathy for Hook. He'll go on in a different direction. And I think this is a way of retiring the title because Chris Jericho doesn't need it. I think it'll be a way of destroying it or getting rid of the title, and then Jericho move on to another learning tree or learning stump that he wants to do on this path that he's doing right now in AEW in this version of him. So that's where I see it going.
You're saying he's going to win it and then just destroy the title?
Yeah, I think not right there in that moment, but eventually it's the showing that the title is going to be retired.
Oh, okay. I see Hook winning it back. I see him getting the victory. I see Jericho doing the honors here for Hook, and so that's how I just see it because obviously I don't think it would make sense for Jericho to win, but you paint an interesting picture there for Jericho retaining. And the learning tree is learning tree. I think Chris Jericho is outsmarted all of us by doing this so badly that we have to talk about it. So I think that Hook gets that FTW championship back and brings it back to his father, and they have a nice juicy steak dinner or fish and chips after the show. Isn't that a nice scenario to paint for you?
Yeah, I say fish and chips, not the steak dinner.
And now when I'm in the mood for tacos and when I want a chalupa, the only person I think about now in this world is Jack Perry.
Mm-hmm.
Because Jack Perry, the scapegoat, against boy, I listen, guy. I'm sorry, I don't know why I'm sounding like such a wise ass with this because I mean, honestly, it's just a lot of stuff going on with AEW right now. But I don't I don't want Jack Perry. Listen, I have no listen. Nothing. Look, maybe it's personal. No, we met the guy.
Not personal. We've met Jack Perry. He's been on the show. We interviewed him.
Humble and great and everything like that. But who knew that like years later, the stories that would come out that he's, a little difficult, whatever, with the boys, and then him having that famous brawl now, or that mini brawl with CM Punk, and him wanting to do some crazy stuff, and him being the scapegoat now, and him being a $175 with that beard and the crazy hair. And I think the worst thing is that with all that, he's got a hot ass girlfriend in NJ. So I really freaking hate the man. I have to respect him, right?
Yeah, it works. You want to hate him. You want to see him lose. You want to see him get beat. But the thing that I don't understand in this whole scenario, and we'll talk about the Darby Allin match because it is for the TNT title, is my thing with Jack Perry is that he had the potential. People were chanting his song when he was Jungle Boy. He had a bona fide potential of creating a star right then and there. Whether you believed in Jack Perry or not, you couldn't question his ability in the ring. Really great in the ring. And now this new version of him, what I don't understand what AEW is doing in this scenario is that if you want him to be this scapegoat, this hated individual, which he is, people really dislike him. You're making him to be this indestructible force. So I'll go back to Blood and Guts, where he's tied up. They do the classic reincarnation of what Raven did to Tommy Dreamer and slammed the chair right across his face, and then him not giving up, not quitting. So do you want him to be this vile villain that escapes and is so demonic that no matter what scenario he's in, he always figures out a way to just get out of it? Or do you want to be this guy who's tough as nails? So it sends mixed messages, in my opinion. Not that it's supposed to be super complicated, but you're sending mixed messages where, like, granted, they're going to hate him regardless, but you're trying to make him be a badass heel. That doesn't work. And especially with a guy like Jack Perry, in terms of the look he's presented himself now, which just makes you want to hate him more. Congratulations, Jack. You really did a good job. And I'll give credit where credit is due. It is working. That sends mixed signals to me in terms of this. And listen, that promo he did was probably one of his best promos he's ever done in his life. I mean, sales for Taco Bell went up ridiculously off the roof, and less is more. I know people want to see more of Jack Perry and him talking and him making these I guess these promos that are so innovative, but you don't need that from him. He needs to show up, you boo him, you hate him, and he walks away barely escaping, and that's how you keep building this animosity towards Jack Perry.
I agree, but I just don't think I can believe in it. I just can't see him as a badass because he's like.
Well, look at the match we're talking about. That we're talking about two individuals that we don't really understand why. With Darby Allin and Jack Perry, two polarizing characters in AEW.
This is going to be an FU to CM Punk because that's what it's all. I will tell you this right now. All Jack Perry's. I'll tell you what he's thinking about. He's thinking about CM Punk. He is going to find the biggest FU to CM Punk because that's all he can. That's all he has to go off of. They're going to do something with Glass, and I hope to God. Did you see this thing of that big structure that's on top of Wembley Stadium? It's kind of maybe the antenna or something. Yeah. I hope Darby Allin goes on top of there, and that'll be the end of Darby Allin. Because listen, there's another guy that honestly like.
Which one's worse here, Darby or Jack Perry, Jeff? For you?
Oh my goodness, either or, I'll be happy. But here's a guy again too that I don't see it. I don't see why they make him a guy who's 145 pounds so indestructible, like I guess a piece of iron. So I don't see it either. These are two people that I have a tough time rooting for, and I'm probably gonna think that Darby Allin, I think, is gonna get so injured. He's going to out-injure Jack Perry that he's going to lose. And I think we're going to have a new we're going to say, and still TNT champion in Jack Perry, the scapegoat. I think that it's going to be some crazy spot. It's going to be an FU to CM Punk. And because it's going to be the 1 year anniversary. And Perry's going to think that he's getting the last laugh on CM Punk. Meanwhile, CM Punk is happy where he's at. And he could give two flying Fs about anything that's going on with that company.
Yeah, but you're right. It's going to be retribution for Jack Perry for, a year ago. All in being in any the way it did to where he is now. he's going to still retain the title. And for Darby, yeah, he's probably going to do something super, super crazy. But then when you look at Darby Allin's character, though, he's the classic, at least in this modern day version, classic underdog, which I get it. I don't quite understand it myself either. But again, the crowd for some reason gets behind him. They cheer for him. I don't know if they're, I can equivalent to sometimes, Jeff, when you see a car crash, right? And you're just compelled to stare at it and watch it. This sometimes that's what happens with matches with Darby Allin in terms of what we saw at Blood and Guts and what he was willing to do in terms of setting Jack Perry on fire, willing to set him on fire to win this match. Despite what you might think of both of them, and hey, I'm mostly 99.9% in agreement with you with that. I will tell you right now, this is the match which is going to have a lot of people talking. I don't know if it's going to be a good thing or a bad thing, but a lot of people will be talking after this match is over.
Will be dead, and most likely will be Darby Allin, and so that's why they're going to talk about it. And it's mind-boggling to me how this guy has even conned, and no offense, Tony Khan and Bryan Danielson to think that he's safe. That's to me is the biggest. To me, you know what? After all that, kudos to you, Darby, for making everyone pretend that you think whatever you do is safe. So that to me is the biggest miracle in Darby Allin's repertoire, that he's been able to pull the wool on everybody thinking that he's safe. So now we've got the Young Bucks, FTR, and the Acclaimed for those coveted AEW Tag Team Championships. And let's talk about the AEW Tag Team division, because this used to be a staple for AEW. This is where tag team wrestling, remember the focus on tag team wrestling? Well, it sure as heck hasn't looked like it. And now we're getting the same matchup, and then FTR was interjected because they ended up in tying a draw with the Acclaimed. Young Bucks, we've seen it. For them to be a tag team this whole time and never break up, it kind of starts wearing thin. You've seen them as tag team champions, right? And this EVP thing, has it worked out? I don't think so. And then FTR, who every 5 seconds are saying how much they love working for AEW, how much they love pro wrestling. I mean, that is kind of getting old. And then the Acclaim, to me, yes, they're brash. Yes, sometimes they're not your cup of tea. But if anybody should be walking away, the new tag team champions, it should be the Acclaim. Then I'm going to say the Acclaim come out here. As much as some people are not going to like it, I think that they are the ones that deserve to walk away after Wembley and All In as the new AEW tag team champions.
Yeah, I would agree too. I would say the Acclaim walks out. It's been something they've been building, and this is, in terms of storytelling, they've been building this where the Acclaim keeps chasing and chasing. I think they finally get their end result, to their justice, where they actually become the new AEW Tag Team Champions. Again, FTR, we've seen it before. The Young Bucks have held it now. You want them to lose on the biggest stage right now and All In at Wembley Stadium. Acclaim walking out the new AEW Tag Team Champions.
Toni Storm and Mariah May. I love me some Mariah May. She has been one of the breakout stars of 2024, if not the breakout star in women's wrestling. She tremendous. I kind of was some people kind of critiqued the heel turn because it was just too gruesome. They didn't like seeing all that blood, but the hell with that, man. And I think it did its point. I don't think you needed to do a storyline where I think the turn, you didn't see it coming, but I mean, it made an impact for when we saw it. I mean, it was totally like not expected, and I liked it. I liked the way that Mariah May is doing this. She won the Owen Hart Memorial Cup for the women's side. She gets this opportunity, and if it were me, who's hotter right now? Toni Storm's done a great job with that title, but I think you got to put that title on Mariah May. I think she walks away Wembley as the champ.
I do too. I mean, this is built up to be one of the most anticipated matches in the cold card right now with AEW. They've done a great job in terms of building this. I got to be honest, though, I did get surprised because I really was expecting the turn to happen with Toni Storm. She was going to turn her back on Mariah May. When they did this, it was a very nice and pleasant surprise. And it was one of those scenarios that you and I love in professional wrestling, that maybe you didn't expect it, because we're so used to things being so predictable at times. And this one, I'll give credit where credit is due. AEW did a really great job of swaying the fans and then having that happen at the moment it did. And the brutality that happened too. I mean, sometimes, people will always debate whether having blood involved or having things being that gory is necessary. But in terms of elevating it, making it more intriguing in terms of, wow, we want Toni Storm now, who was once a heel, is now a beloved babyface, to get revenge on this person who she looked at as a daughter, looked at as, even a love interest per se, and be betrayed that way after she gave everything to Mariah May to get her to this point. Love it. Can't wait for it. I agree with you. I think Mariah May is probably one of the breakout stars this year in the women's division for AEW. Sky's the limit for her right now. My biggest thing is, and again, I have Mariah May coming out victorious as the new AEW women's champion. I just would want to see this continue on, not necessarily in terms of the brutality and the type of match we're going to get on Sunday, but in terms of, are we going to see them elevate this in a scenario where I think Mariah May has just so much more potential, such a high ceiling. I hope they do it right for her when they do crown her as the champion.
Yeah, I mean that'd be the right way to go. And I think that again, Toni Storm has done a great job elevating that title, carrying it for that title, just for this case, just to elevate Mariah May. So I think that's going to be a really good match. I will not lie to you though, I kind of held Toni Storm in a little bit higher regard for her wrestling, but the watching her against Saraya, and then watching her recently a little bit, kind of a little down on Toni a little bit too, because of, I don't know. It just she
You have
just
to understand that's her character. It's
but,
supposed to be
but
this corny,
look at the move.
very unauthentic thing. We've seen Toni Storm in the ring before. She can go, but she's purposely not doing it for this reason. And I give credit with Toni. It's just dedication to the character. That the character is not supposed to be this technician. This character is supposed to be this quirky, comedic. I mean, the woman thinks she's back in the 1950s.
Look at the Saraya match, and you tell me if it was being quirky or being kind of sloppy, because there's some sloppiness on those holds. I mean, there's
The same goes for Saraya too. She was supposed to be known as a very good technician, and she's either lost this up or just not that intrigued or interested in doing it anymore.
I'm going to say that you're as good as how many times you're in the ring, and I know her injuries kind of keep her from performing constantly, but that ring rust is there. That is tough to watch. Someone that was on, I'm going to say she wasn't my cup of tea in WWE, but hey, she was a really good upper tier in the women's division, and now to see her a little bit like kind of regress, and she's only what, like not even like in the 30s or something like that. Like it's kind of it's kind of a little sad to watch there, but we'll see what happens too in her future in AEW as well. You'd think that she'd be on this card, right? You thought that, and I don't think she's going to be on this card, so that's kind of also a little surprising too that she's not involved. All right, Trendsetter, now we've got MJF and Will Ospreay for the AEW American Championship. Now we remember that MJF renamed it. Listen, to me, their mic skills or their feud has been through the mic. And I think I'm glad to see MJF as the heel. We kind of found out why MJF kind of went back to the heel, because he feels like the crowd betrayed him as soon as Will Ospreay came into the fold. I get that. But I'm glad that MJF is back to this guy. Does he take it to limit a lot? There's some stuff that he said in this promo that, whew, man,
classic MJF.
Classic MJF pushing that to the extreme here. MJF Will Ospreay. Listen, this is all about one move, that Tiger Driver. And he got the okay from Bryan Danielson. And I kind of get that the babyface is torn about the Tiger Driver, but it just seems like such a wussy thing to do, too. There's one thing to be noble, but there's one thing to be a wuss about it, and to be scared to do a move. Oh, my goodness. That, to me, kind of was like, really? I think this is about the Tiger Driver. It's all about the Tiger Driver, and that's how Will Ospreay is going to regain the championship, and he's going to beat MJF at Wembley. He's the guy. He's the face. MJF is the ultimate heel. What usually happens, the baby face comes out on top in his home turf. We see that Tiger Driver come back in his arsenal. Will Ospreay be guilty about it afterwards? Maybe that leads to another matchup with MJF, but I say Ospreay walks away the champ.
I do think there'll be another match with MJF, but I don't think it will be the scenario where Will Ospreay is the champion at that time. I will have to oppose you, my friend, and I think MJF will walk away here still the AEW American champion. For the reason for this too, it's like, again, when you talk about predictability, something like this, it's in his backyard, it's his home country. He had his moment last year. Now it's a scenario where you're going to create the appeal of having people's hearts crushed by seeing their hometown boy lose. In terms of what AMJF's done promotion wise, listen, I've heard people say some things that are, we all know the internet wrestling community can go a little bit off the hinges at times, and hey, sometimes maybe we're just as responsible sometimes for that as well in terms of our emotions. And sometimes when something feels cool, you just want to say the first thing that pops in your head, right? This rivalry that's been going on the microphone has been kind of amusing to me because I've heard people actually telling me that they feel that Will Ospreay is not only on the same level as MJF on the microphone, that he has surpassed him on the microphone. And I asked those same individuals very politely, are you on something? Is there something wrong with you mentally? Did you get dropped in your head when you were a kid? Because I do not understand why people think that that's a scenario. And for people to say, oh, wow, MJF took it to another level, made it personal. Well, let's be honest and let's call a spade a spade. Will Ospreay has made this personal way before MJF did. Because what MJF did, he'll basically just critique you from your career to who you are as a person. But when you're basically saying to MJF in the ring on the last the go home show that that it took him 4 years to win the crowd over, and he did it with 4 beats of his song, to show the fact that, of course, you want to show the heel's vulnerability that he turned heel because he felt he was being rejected, the insecurity there. But I'm like, let's be honest here too. Before there was the potential signing of Will Ospreay, everyone was chanting MJF, and here comes the shiny new toy, which is Will Ospreay. And you don't know when it's going to come off his hinges because even Will Ospreay said himself too that the body is feeling it. He can't go much longer doing what he's doing. He's basically another version, but just a British version of my opinion, Bryan Danielson. That the wheels are going to fall off eventually, sooner than later, in this guy's scenario. And so you have an MJF here who takes it personally in terms of putting him over by saying this is a gentleman who has brought up to raise someone who's not his own in terms of raising up his family, right? And that's crossing the line. Well, if you don't want to get personal and bring family involved in this, Will Ospreay, then why were you so happy to bring up a certain individual who works at a certain company that didn't want to give you the time of day as well because of the work rate, and that being very offensive to you, saying that this individual only got where he got because he was grinding on the boss's daughter. I mean, that's taking it to a personal level that you don't need to take it. And he's all about professionalism, right? So don't dish out stuff that you can't take yourself. And so apparently in this scenario, Will Ospreay can't handle it. And with the whole Tiger Driver, this whole storyline is built around that. I think it's going to happen in the scenario where he's not going to be able to pull the trigger for some weird reason. And I have a feeling that his family is going to be in the audience. It would be fun if his family was in the audience for this so that you could have him see his boy like saying, no, daddy, no.
Oh,
And
no, really?
MJF, no, I'm just saying that. Don't do it. You don't want to show that type of violence to your family. This is a story that they're playing.
Yeah, no.
Have MJF nail it on him to come out victorious too. I think these two have great chemistry in the ring. There's no doubt about it. I think the match they had prior to this was really, really good. I think we're going to expect to see a lot more in terms of that. Will Ospreay is going to go all out because he is in his home country, but I have MJF walking out still the champion.
These scenarios that you played out and the FTW and then this, I usually like your booking, but man, it would look like such a wuss. It would just totally make me root against him and pull for MJF. If that was
the case, this is what they're doing, though. The last time he had the ability of doing it, and he's holding it and contemplating because some righteousness within himself won't let him do it because he injured Bryan Danielson. Hey, that's why they don't call this ballet, man. Accidents happen. The mere fact that just because he got the okay from a hypocrite like Bryan Danielson, and he took it.
Well, we'll get to that in a little bit.
He took it to heart to him. Just shows me the kind of person Will Ospreay is, and that's why something like that, just making up, would make you hate Will Ospreay more.
Oh, okay, this is angering me. So let's move on. No. Maybe this will get me better. Mercedes Moné. Oh man, Mercedes Moné against Britt Baker, Dr. Britt Baker, DMD. Mm-hmm. Before we get to this, we have to talk about everything that's happened, right? So Britt Baker gets suspended during this program. Mercedes brings out Kamille, who former NWA champion, women's champion, who obviously we were waiting on her to show up. Why they asked her to change her hair color, I don't get it. She's known as this blonde, muscular woman, and why they changed her hair, I don't know. Obviously, if you ask me, it's because she doesn't stand out, because Mercedes doesn't want her to stand out. Just my opinion, and so she's the muscle. And it's just been, besides the last few weeks where the promos have gotten better between them. I just don't know where they went wrong with Mercedes Moné. I think, yes, letting her speak was horrible. I just don't think that, and where Britt Baker's going, I don't see Britt Baker winning this. I mean, she had me. She won me over with that speech when she came back. I was all for it. But then seeing all the backstage drama and how it just continues to follow her, and it just is nonstop. There's like stories all the time. There's other stuff going on. We won't get into the personal stuff too, but there's other stuff that's going on there. The rumors about, her and Adam Cole, and just this light. Oh, and also too that her and Jamie Hayter, Fightful reported that there's really little to no chance that ship has sailed that her and Jamie Hayter ever worked together. So there was like some heat there as well. So you hear all these things. Who's really like, you go into this like you Britt's the face, but in reality she's a heel too. So like, I don't think the backstage stuff has really helped this. Because if you're a smart wrestling fan, you know what's going on in the back. You're like, is Britt Baker really a nice person? Right? So, I mean, this matchup had a lot of momentum. And now to me is, what happens to Britt? I think as soon as Britt's done, I think she's going to go MIA for a little bit too, because I just think that this is Mercedes Moné's show. This is Mercedes Moné's time, and she's going to come out victorious. Not that she's done anything to make it her time, whatever like that, but she's getting paid the big bucks, and that's just how it is. And Dr. Britt Baker is going to get a cold reality check at All In.
Listen, despite what we're talking about in terms of what's going on backstage, people's egos, everyone has an ego in this industry, you and I included too. You have to have a certain ego to be successful for whatever means that allow that to happen, right? In terms of a match-wise, I think we're still going to get a good match, because one thing about Mercedes Moné that I will give her credit for is that, despite what you think about her mic skills and the fact that she has creative control, and a lot of decisions that she's made have been very questionable, and a lot of people it's not their cup of tea. It's not mine either. And it really becomes more obnoxious than anything. Ultimately, you get what you paid for. But when it comes to in the ring, in between those ropes, you're going to get the best possible match you can. And let's be honest, Britt Baker has been someone that, since I can remember, maybe Sheeta and Thunder Rosa, who God knows where she is right now, those are only great matches she's really had with individuals that have taken it to the limit, and she's kind of answered the bell. I think you're going to get that here. You're going to get a really good match. Of course, it's not going to be clean, and Mercedes is going to retain, in my opinion, the title. And to your point, too, I do see Britt Baker basically taking some time off now from here, because right now, as you could see, she's not being painted in a good light. Yes, they're putting her on TV as this baby face right now, but when you're hearing what's going on right now in terms of the backstage stuff happening, and all this news that's coming out right now, it doesn't bode well for, which is a shame, because it would have been a really good rivalry if it was pitted out together and everything worked itself out. But I think for right now, it'll be a one and done, and Mercedes will walk out retaining the AEW Women's Championship.
Ooh, I agree. I really don't. Yeah, I mean, all this stuff about Britt is not good. And like I said, Mercedes getting paid the big money here, and I think that she's gonna hold on to those titles. I think it's gonna be a long freaking reign, and I think it's gonna be a lot of Mercedes Moné, because she's gonna be the face of that company. She's getting paid like it, and this to me is just another name for her to beat in her road now to this championship run for her. So AEW All In is going to be Mercedes Moné time. Now we head to the I can't wait for this one, Trendsetter. This is this one right here. I cannot your opinion. Daniel Bryan. Almost said it. I said it again. Bryan Danielson and Swerve Strickland. Swerve's done the best that he can, to me, in my opinion, for this as champion. I mean, it didn't start out great, being kind of put to the side as far as like airtime and stuff like that, and positioned on the show. And Bryan Danielson, whose contract has expired, and he's going to be part-time, or he's not going to be full-time anymore. And then now you're running the risk of him being the AEW World Champion, but you're going to make him a part-timer because he's not going to be there all the time. He wants to be there for his kids. So it's a kind of weird situation. He won the Memorial Cup, the Owen Hart Memorial Cup, and now he is in this slot. Of course, who's going to put all those? Who's going to be the sentimental favorite? It's going to be Bryan Danielson. Everybody wants to see him win it. Everyone, they want to see 54,000 people going, yes, yes, yes. I get it. It's going to be the image of All In. So he's going to win it. The only thing to me is it smart to have a guy that can't wrestle full time right now being your champion? Is it going to be a short term deal? Is he going to maybe have a change of heart and maybe wrestle full time for a few more months? Or is it something that, like, right now, Trendsetter, when you're trying to get a deal, when you're trying to have your face that your champion be there all the time and he can't be, is it a smart move to put the title on Bryan Danielson? Because you know he is going to win it.
It's funny how you said that everyone wants him to win it. Not everybody. This guy right here doesn't want him to win. For very clear reasons that I made, so many years ago in terms of this show. The hypocrite Bryan Danielson, I feel, is not going to become victorious. I think it's going to be a Swerve Strickland. Sorry, that's what my heart says. No, listen, in all honesty here, I don't remember, I can't recall last time where you pitted a championship match where no matter what scenario you put out, no one's going to be happy about this. So let's go to scenario 2. Bryan Danielson wins. The crowd cheers for this hypocrite. Yes, yes, yes. And has a great moment. And he finally achieved what he wanted to achieve when he came to AEW. He's become the world champion. He's had several chances at doing that and failed. And this would be a great shining moment in terms of his career being on the line. But to your point, he's going to do that as a part-timer. If not, maybe he's, maybe he's just ribbing all of us right now and saying that, that's not really the case. That was just for storyline purposes. He's going to do this a little bit longer. But when you do something like that, then people are going to be upset the fact that, my goodness, this should really be Swerve's moment. You're giving it sentimentally to Bryan Danielson for this particular reason. That's not right. You shouldn't be doing it. Swerve has worked so hard and got to this point to do it. Now you go the opposite direction and have Swerve win it. Now you're gonna be like, oh, well, why didn't you give Bryan Danielson his moment? First of all, he doesn't deserve it. Nobody deserves anything in this business, and not everyone gets the storybook ending like a Cody Rhodes did. It just doesn't happen all the time. That's why when moments like that do happen, it's very, very few and far between. My instinct is on this. If I really want to do this from a business standpoint, too, yes, having Bryan Danielson as your world champion would be great. I think short term. I think if I'm looking at on the long-term picture, I have to have Swerve win this match. By hook or by crook, I have to have him win this match because, to me, he is the future of AEW. He's the face. It has to be the future face. It can't be, okay, we're going to push you to the side right now because we really like Bryan Danielson and our owner, Tony Khan, really loves him, and he has such a great mind for business, and he's really kissing up to Bryan Danielson. He has a lot of respect and admiration for him, understandably so, from Tony Khan's perspective. Give him his moment, right? But if you're doing it from a business standpoint, you can't. I have to say that Swerve will walk out of Wembley Stadium still the AEW World Champion, and that would be the end to a career that has been very well known in terms of what he's had to deal with in terms of injuries and stuff like that. And I think that's how it ends.
Should they open the show?
Should they open the show? No.
That should be the ending match. Whether he loses or not, that should be the ending match, right?
That should be the ending match because it's the one people are really building and anticipating to watch. Is it going to be Bryan Danielson's final match? Oh my goodness. The one thing that just doesn't make sense to me, Jeff, in reality when it comes to this, it started off as a championship match, right? To me, there's no reason in terms of the story to put your career on the line.
You already had the title shot.
Yeah, why are you stacking the odds against you? And you should be stacking it in your favor.
Listen to Jeff Jarrett, who took a company down the toilet, and you're listening to him for advice.
Yeah.
I love Jeff Jarrett. I'm just saying. But I'm just saying.
I love Jeff Jarrett.
You think about it, though, right? The guy that,
I'll always be for Global Force Wrestling. Always.
So you're taking his advice and going all in and putting your career where you don't have to on the line. But we get it. It's winner take all. And so that makes sense, too, that Bryan Danielson gets the ovation of the audience, that Swerve Strickland wins, but then he walks out and then Bryan Danielson gets his farewell, his clap, whatever like that. It won't be the end of Bryan Danielson. He'll still wrestle here and there, but as far as the full time.
Oh, God, I hope not.
And especially Bree's going to be there. So there's going to be a Bree mode in Wembley. And the first time his son is going to watch him wrestle and his daughter is going to be there. So the family will be there in the front row. I'm pretty sure AEW can't wait to focus in on Bree there. And so
if you've made your comment in terms of who you think is going to win it from a business standpoint, what makes more sense to you?
Yeah, like I said, if he's going to do short term and you got that deal, then you want Bryan Danielson to be world champion. But long term, though, you're right. Swerve should do it. So I understand where you think that you see that opening door for Swerve Strickland, and he deserves it. Like Jericho's really sung his praises that he believes in him and all stuff like that. So yeah, if I'm doing the right thing, if I'm doing what's good for business and for my guy, maybe not for business because maybe Bryan Danielson that maybe that few next months gets you a TV deal, but the long term though, Strickland's going to be there in 6 months. Bryan Danielson isn't. So you kind of have to sometimes do good by your guy that's going to be long tenured, like CM Punk. Again, now I'm always quoting CM Punk. Now it's like, but who's going to be there tomorrow, right?
Yeah.
Who's going to be there tomorrow? So
yeah, real quick, we've dissected this card. We've given our predictions. What is the one match you think has the potential of stealing the show?
only because it's going to be who can top who in insanity. It's probably going to be Jack Perry and Darby Allin. I think a sleeper, and again, it has to be whether Toni Storm is going to be that Toni Storm. That could be a sleeper right there. But the one that I'm looking forward to the most is probably going to be MJF and Will Ospreay, if you ask me. But how about you, Trendsetter? Which one do you think is going to be the show stealer, and which one are you looking forward to the most? And what? Okay, how about this? Which one do you think is going to be not live up to expectations? There you go. Do that one first. Which one's not going to live up to expectations?
Well, to me, the one that's not going to live up to expectations will be the Mercedes Moné Britt Baker match.
Book that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I don't think it's going to live up to expectations. I think it was falling apart before I even started. And that was with the rumors and all that stuff added onto it. What I think is going to be the show stealer, the one that you want to look at and really watch and say, wow, that's going to be a really good match. I'm leaning towards MJF and Will Ospreay. And that's nothing to do with the title. We've seen these two work before. They work really well. The psychology of it, whether you like it or not, in terms of the psychology that they do in the match, it's to your opinion. It's your flavor of what you like. But I think this one will be one that people were like, wow, this was really, really good. Especially with that atmosphere and that crowd really being behind Will Ospreay. It's going to be a scenario where, wow, it's going to be that type of yes, no, yeah. And I'm not quoting Bryan Danielson here. I'm just saying that crowd's going to be so into it because they're so invested in Will Ospreay. They want to see him come out victorious. It's going to be a great dynamic. So I think that one's going to do it. The potential could have been Darby Allin and Jack Perry, but I think for different reasons in terms of just seeing how crazy these two are going to get. In terms of match quality, I'm looking towards MJF and Will Ospreay.
Really quick, we did leave the gauntlet match out of it because we kind of talked about it in the beginning when we talked about Ricochet. Yeah. I think he's going to be the guy. I think he's going to win, and I think he's going to get the AEW World title shot because that should be the way to go about it. There's going to be a lot of guys in it, but I think that if you're going to make an impact with Ricochet, that's the way to do it. I think he debuts. He's one of the mystery people, and he wins, and he gets the AEW World title shot in the future. Hey, because you know what? Why not?
Yeah, why not? It's, again, you want to make an impact, no pun intended here, because we do talk about TNA and Impact in the show as well. That's the way to do it, because if you're going to take away the stain of him and what he dealt with in WWE in terms of how he's not been used and being a mid-carder or below mid-carder type in terms of his potential and what he could live up to, that's how you do it in AEW. Now, what they do from there, moving on forward, is obviously up to debate in terms of what they do, but I think if you want to make an impact and want to leave an impression in the crowd where it's going to be exciting and it's going to be something unsuspected for them to see, Ricochet makes his debut and gets a title shot right away.
So there you go. There you have it. AEW All In is this Sunday from Wembley Stadium at 1 p.m.
WrestleMania, and it used to be a 1 o'clock or 4 o'clock show.
4 p.m. in the afternoon.
Yeah, in the afternoon.
WrestleMania 10.
Yeah, 4 p.m.
Start, man. So we're going to get... Then we got Bash at Berlin that's going to have an early start as well. So
this has been the year where international hype for wrestling has really improved, in my opinion.
And then make sure you'll catch our post show after All In. We'll come on, talk about it real quick on IG Live at High Spot Podcast. But there you go, folks. I'm not going to promise anything, but we'll definitely wrap up the rest of it because it's been a busy week. We were going to come on here, but look at the card. There was so much to talk about, like we went over here, so it's kind of crazy. So we'll see if we can wrap other stuff in the ribbon, like Roman Reigns is back, all that other stuff too. So much to discuss too, so little time. So hopefully we can fit that in, hopefully down the road. But Trendsetter, this has been your all-in preview. Talked a lot about this. It's going to be a very interesting night for AEW. It is their WrestleMania. It is at 1 o'clock start. We will have the post reaction afterwards. Follow us on all our social media at High Spot Podcast. Give us a like and subscribe here on the Give Us a Shot Network. Make sure you hit that notification bell so you don't miss an episode of HSP. And also, if you can't watch us, listen to us on all audio podcast platforms, on Spotify and Apple Podcasts, on iHeart. Make sure you subscribe and download those episodes, Trendsetter. And now do what you do best, because I know no matter what, sick, tired, bummed out, you always give us a great close, Trendsetter. So do what you do best.
Guys, for my tag team partner, Jeff Martin, I'm the Trendsetter, Brian Bergo. We are the Jersey Ranker, and you've been watching the High Spot Podcast All In Preview. Guys, hope you enjoyed the show as we enjoyed talking about it. Can't wait to see what happens in terms of the results of where it moves forward from there. But, guys, we appreciate you, and we've been doing this for one reason and one reason only. We've been doing it for you, the crew.